Hi there, my name is Fox, and welcome back to Factorio. We're at a very pivotal point in the run. In this lazy Deathworld run, we've got our iron ore, we've got our copper ore, we've got our nuclear setup, we've got pretty much everything that we need to move on. This is the critical infrastructure that without it, we can't do much of anything, and now that means that with all of these things in place, we must now turn our attention not to the home world that we are currently on, but to the stars. The stars is where our future does lie. So with that, we are first going to work on building ourselves a rocket ship. And you got to get stuff into space to build a rocket ship. Yeah, we don't just launch full rocket ships down here. We launch the rocket pad up into space via the rocket, via the launch pad, and then from there we can slowly flesh out our space platforms and our spaceships. And so right now, first critical step is going to be to get ourselves our first rocket silo. This is going to be the first of many rocket silos. You can absolutely have yourself one single rocket silo on each planet and win the game, sure, but it's going to take forever. It's a throughput issue. So we're going to plan on having more of those, but for now we're going to get our first rocket silo up and running. Meanwhile, we're looking at some of the science that we have. Currently, we only have up to the yellow science. We don't have the white science yet. That will happen once we get into the stars, but military 4, the nuclear reactor, exoskeleton, yeah, these are going to be very, very useful for us in the very near future. And I am keeping an eye on that power armor as one of the things that I do want. As much inventory space as I currently have, I'm doing okay, but I could always do just a little bit better with a little bit more space. That would solve a lot of my problems. Let's start working on this rocket fuel. We haven't really built rocket fuel en masse this entire time. It's literally been one chemical plant getting the solid fuel and then one assembler getting us into the actual rocket fuel. So yeah, we're actually going to need a bit of a bigger setup here. And that's going to prompt me to say, okay, we've got to do something more significant than what we're doing now. We are going to need to, number one, make sure that our oil production is quite a bit higher, and then also at some point we're going to need to increase the amount of refineries that we have, turning the precious crude black oil into the heavy, light, and petroleum types of oil. But that will come in just a short amount of time. In the meantime, let's grab this rocket silo space there. Note that I am starting to kill trees. Folks, I don't like killing trees, especially in this Deathworld run. We would not be having nearly so good of a time without these trees. Where's the Lorax when you need him? All things considered, the trees have done a great job, but now I am going to be a lot less kind to the trees because I'm going to, in my hubris, believe that nothing can touch me. Mwahaha. I will think that nothing on this planet can stop me from having just a real darn good time, and therefore, what need do I have for trees? Famous last words. Okay, but we're getting our rocket ship started. We're going to build right here. This is going to be the platform that is going to essentially start ourselves off for the ultimate large spaceship. It's not a very expensive build, but it's really not expensive because we've been working on this space platform scaffolding or foundation for quite some time. If you don't have that, it's going to take a long time, but we've really invested in some of the prerequisite materials. That feels great. We're going to have one landing pad, one rocket silo, and this is us launching our first rocket into space. And we are originally going to name this Fox Orbital Command. And then I realized, wait, you know what? This is not actually going to be the Fox Orbital Command. This is going to be the Amerigo, which is, of course, a reference to StarCraft 1, where there was the science vessel, the Amerigo, that got blown up in a cool cinematic. And of course, the Amerigo from StarCraft is a reference to Amerigo Vespucci, the great explorer. So it seems only natural that science and sciencey related things should be known as the Amerigo, and Fox Orbital Command, we will save that for another ship. And in fact, that ship is not going to stay the same ship the entire time. It's more of a title given to the best ship of all that I currently have in my fleet. So folks, we have done it. We've completed the Lazy Bastard portion of the Lazy Bastard run. I'm now going to unpin this achievement in the upper left. I'm just going to hope that you trust and believe me when I say that I'm still going to stick to the typical gist of this run. The idea that we are not going to build things by hand. I'm still not going to unbind the craft in our keybinds, but still, I just want to make sure that you know that though we are not keeping track of it any longer, that the Lazy Bastard run has been completed, and still in spirit it shall continue on. I'm not trying to figure out where I want to put my landing pad. That's going to be where all materials that come from space down to the planet are going to land. If you don't have a landing pad, then the little modular ships are just going to float free fall type down to the earth, and they won't really go in the same place every single time. So being able to send all your materials into one place is going to be important. We will do that soon. And I make the unfortunate decision here. I say, well, I do need the oil, but these exterior single patch pump jacks that I've had since the very beginning, they're only turning out 2 crude oil a second, which is still good, but I am going to start to dismantle that, just knowing that I'm going to have a tough time defending my exterior places in my map, my exterior mining facilities or pump jacks, when I'm off world. If I'm on world, it's not too big of a problem to go and defend those, make sure that they're fine, but I'm going to dismantle the 2 solo pump jacks, and in a moment or so we're going to go to the big oasis in the northeast where we have all of our oil. In the meantime, we are still doing a little bit of biter fighting, and the only reason I'm including that in this moment right now, so you can see, is that the biters are getting stronger and stronger. The tank is quite simply not keeping up with the amount of stress and struggle that I am under. There you go, right there. And like, yeah, we've seen FixFox die a couple times due to biters. It's not going to happen here, but again, the point is that the biters are getting just too tough for me to handle, and just the general cost is still not expensive. Bullets are not too expensive. The flamethrower ammo is not too expensive, but the time is very, very expensive. At this point, with I think there were about 18 hours into this playthrough or so, we're probably right about 18 hours. We are really having built fairly quickly, all things considered. The longer we take and the more time we take, the more that the biters are going to get worse and worse and worse. And so any time from here on out that's actually spent dealing with biters is probably not going to benefit me. And so I'm just going to try not to so much. When the time comes, we're probably going to expand with nuclear weapons, but until that time comes, let's just try to make sure that we are not dealing with biters head on anymore. We're just getting lower and lower returns with our tank. Okay, so in the previous playthroughs, we had not had all these pump jacks active just because we didn't feel like it was necessary. We didn't want to leave too big of a footprint and incur the wrath of nearby biters. At this point, there's nothing for it. We're just going to have to hope and pray for the best there. And as we get the additional oil, we will flesh out our abilities to process that a little bit more in the future. This is just a quick check-in on our nuclear processing. With the logistics network increased with the yellow science, we are able to use the blue requester chests. That's going to make long-term science quite a bit easy, whether we're on planet, on world, or off world. We can do a lot of stuff virtually or remotely from here on out, but every now and again, still fun to just kind of check in on your manual places. I will still, to this day, even if I have the most awesome biter, or rather bot, collection in the entire universe, I will still sometimes throw down manually a couple of the belts in my base. It just feels good. It's part of the Factorio spaghetti run that I do enjoy. Right now, we're going to just take our first look at the science. So we know for our white science pack that we're going to need some iron plates that we're going to need to craft. Up in space would be ideal rather than shipping things. We're also going to need to get ice, and we're also going to need to get carbon. And all of these things can be found by the asteroids that are floating around here in space. We have oxide asteroids, carbonic asteroids, metallic asteroids, and once they are collected by these asteroid collectors, they have these cool little arms. They just go out there and grab stuff. Then you can then process those asteroid pieces, and then you can make some cool science. Now, I don't exactly know the process for making science. I think it's always been funny that, oh, I'm just going to throw an electric furnace into this little pot for the purple science, and then somehow that plus a couple of rails is going to teach me something about science. I know that's not quite how it goes, but anyway, we're going to manually have to put some of these asteroids that we've collected so far. We're going to click on them with the left click, and that's actually going to put them into my inventory there. If you just right click to mine or to get rid of it, it's not going to stick around. So yeah, just things to consider there. And then I don't know. I've seen some really cool designs with the way that people do their science. Some people will have like a 360-degree asteroid collection. I think it's just fine for me to do a little bit of a hammerhead shark design at the front end. That seems to work okay for me. The asteroids will come to the spaceship all around you, but still, you're going to get the majority of them kind of going from this north to south. That's especially true when you're actually traveling from planet to planet. Our space science vessel here is not going to be moving at all, but still, that's a principle that just kind of sticks with me. It informs most of my designs. Now we're throwing around a little bit of wiring here. These are the decider combinators, and all I'm saying is that, look, I'm trying to keep track of these 3 different types of asteroids, and I want to make sure that I have a certain number of them. So I'm just saying right here, I want no less than 20 on this belt. I want no less than 20 of this type on this belt. And then if there is less than 20, then I'm going to just wire it up, so that way we can make sure that the asteroid collectors will try to specifically target those asteroids and leave all others. If you're doing a sushi belt, the important thing with the sushi belt is to make sure that you don't oversaturate the belt with stuff you just don't need. And with Factorio Space Age, it's been really lovely to have the wiring ability to read the entire contents of the entire belt. That was absolutely a huge game changer for me. Prior to Space Age, I did not use a lot of sushi belts because it was just needlessly complex in my idea, but ultimately it's been just the best thing in the world. And especially with Gleba, there's no way in heck that I would ever love to do that planet without some of those additional opportunities. So at this point, asteroids are just going to collect wherever they can. We are now reading the contents of the belt, and now I am wiring up straight to the asteroid collectors the information on the belt. So the information says, look, if there's less than 20 of any of these types of asteroids, then I want to make sure that it sends a signal that says, hey, collect more of this. And once you do that, then I just have to make sure that I set the asteroid collector, so that way it will read the signal. And there's going to be a function there on the right hand side. It says set filters there. And now all 4 of these asteroid collectors, now they are set to try to pick up any of these 3 asteroid chunks. Eventually you're going to get oversaturated with one or the other, so on and so forth. But in the meantime, we're just going to be happy to know that we're not going to oversaturate this sushi belt. Alrighty. Well, now that we have the asteroids, we do have to process them in some meaningful way. So we're going to use these crushers. The crushers are going to process 1 of each of the 3 different types of materials. And as an export from crushing some of these materials, you're going to get things like, for example, iron ore. That's really pretty cool. I like that there's iron ore coming out of this crusher here when we crush up the metallic asteroids. And then to the right of that, we got the carbonic asteroids. That's going to spit out some carbon for you, and then ice for the more watery type of asteroid. And then from there, we're going to have to get some of this material processed. The ice and the carbon, that can just go straight into a science pack for the white space science, but you do need the iron plates that are going to be smelted there in space. Really nifty that you can use the solar panels to make that happen. Late game designs, we're probably going to consider solar or fusion tech for a lot of our spaceship designs, but in the meantime, it's really lovely that we're never ever in a million years going to upgrade past this point. The Amerigo is going to be a recollection of history in the making during our generation, and it's going to be lovely. It's going to be kind of like a time capsule. We're just going to see old FixFox tech that's never going to go out of style, like these solar panels. So it's just going to be lovely to see how some things change and some things never do, and that's okay. In the meantime, we are going to still need some additional materials. You can see some of the ghosts there. I am just sending up materials whenever I get a spare rocket, whenever I get something, coming in just like that. And as the materials come on in, they will get purchased, and you'll move on to the next opportunity for the build. You can manually send items up into space, or you can purposefully put them in yourselves. At this point, I'm not setting up like an automated requesting system. It's like 1 or 2 buttons. It's really not difficult to do. We're going to do that on pretty much every single other planet, but in the meantime, I'm not going to worry about it too much. So we're moving the materials from the hammerhead shark's head at the northern end of the spaceship down past our little space hub. We're smelting items. We're sending it right into the assemblers. The power concerns are not too bad. If we occasionally dip into some negative power, that's not going to hurt my feelings too bad. We can always get a few accumulators. That'll help us sort of ride out the situation. But in the meantime, it's nice to know that we've officially got some science that is going from these assemblers, taking on the iron plates, the ice, and the carbon, and turning that into space science. And now I've set it up to where my space receiving platform here on Nauvis, it is now requesting whatever science it can spit out. We are then going to pull the items from that space platform, or rather, what do you call it? The landing pad, the cargo landing pad. We're going to pull those materials from there, and then we're going to send them on over to our labs. And as you see this, we are now officially getting our logistics system set up. We're getting into our different requester chests very, very soon. And it doesn't take a lot, does not take a lot to adequately supply these labs with the space science. And I'm feeling pretty darn good about what we've accomplished so far. So we went from not having even a rocket silo in this playthrough into having ourselves some white science. And that is a pretty successful day, which I'm pretty grateful for. Folks, thanks for the time. Thanks for the energy. My name is FixedFox, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Take very good care. Bye now.